Ethan Holloway grew up in Henderson, North Carolina, walked through KWI's doors in 2022, and hasn't slowed down since. He's a steam fitter with the UA Local 614, working those night shifts that test your mind, your body, and your spirit. He's a thinker too, draws from guys like Jordan Peterson and Charlie Kirk, but he's also a doer, and that's a combination that's dangerous in all the right ways. We're talking welding, faith, finances, discipline, and the kind of grit it takes to build a legacy. Let's get into it.
My name's Ethan Holloway, and like he said, I'm from Henderson, North Carolina, and going up there, man, I really can't name a better spot to grow up. The town has its problems, but small town, you still have that, you know each other, everyone's waving at each other in the trucks. Good Southern culture. Did a lot of fishing.
Well, it's got
growing up.
Let's say it's got to be. So you're similar to Flemingsburg then. Like we wave at each other, passing each other on the road and stuff, and hunting, fishing. So
very
similar.
Very similar to Flemingsburg. I miss it. I still have people call me all the time, or my mom will call me and say, "Hey, do you know so-and-so? They remember you from high school, or they remember, you know," much like your boys, I used to cut grass in high school. I had a trailer and a lawnmower and, you know, went around town cutting people's grass and helping people out and doing favors for little small-town businesses, small-town HVAC guy, you know, just tagging along with them. And grew up like a good old boy, like a lot of the guys in Flemingsburg do. You know. So
how big is your family?
Well, the immediate family's 5. I have 2 older brothers. One is a police officer in my hometown.
Nice.
One's a park ranger out in Utah. And then mom and dad, of
cool.
course. My dad is a police officer in my hometown, so my brother followed in his footsteps. And my mom teaches nursing at Duke University. So, you know,
I
really? Grew up with what shaped me growing up is having those parents that waited to have children after they were married, and they were great. Biggest blessing in my life is my family, my parents. Great upbringing. So
all right, very cool. So what's it like growing up being a cop's son? I've never I don't guess I know many people who had that kind of raising. What's I imagine it's stern, or what's or you getting away with a lot of stuff in town? How's that work? I know it could be both ways.
Man, I never ran into any trouble in high school, you know.
Cool.
So stern, just very old school, conservative. I grew up Roman Catholic, was baptized Catholic, confirmed Catholic, so that was a big part of my faith growing up, and we always went to church, and of course sometimes you miss a Sunday, you know what I mean? That shaped me, I think, as a man growing up and seeing strong leaders in my community and seeing how my dad ran his household. And my dad was always hands-on. He actually, when he was younger, around my age, he was a carpenter, you know, so, you know, he used to build custom door frames and do cabinetry pieces and stuff like that for people. So he was always hands-on, and we were always doing something. My parents bought a fixer-upper house, and so growing up, Saturdays, I wasn't out with the boys. Dad was waking me up at 6 in the morning. Come on, we're going to the hardware store. Get your ass out of bed. Come on, we got to go.
New project, you're saying, laying hardwood floor or tile or fixing some electric something. You were always
all of it. Tile, blinds, painting, concrete, pouring, poured a patio in our backyard.
But looking back, that's handy as the day is long, man. I mean, that turns you into somebody there. You can handle your own house growing. You know, that's good.
You learn a lot from.
So
your
talking
dad.
about this.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, talking about your brother who's a park ranger and all the way out in Utah. That's opposite ends of the U.S. there. How did he float that way? Interesting.
He went to college. Both of my siblings went to college. I chose the trade route, and
sure.
He wanted to get into the medical field and tried doing a ambulance tag along one night, and he seen a deceased child in a car wreck, and that was the end of his medical career. He couldn't handle.
Yeah.
You know, seeing
yeah,
that.
I'd say that'd shake anybody, really. Yeah.
So, and then he loves nature. He's just outdoorsy, and he wants to leave the phone in the truck and go out there and just hike through the backcountry. No people, just be out there in nature. And if you met him, you would just kind of tell. He gives off those vibes. That's where he's at home, is being away from people and being out there in our nation's great national parks. You know, it's one of the great things about living in America is our country is protected, all these beautiful places like that. And I went to see him in Utah in September, and gorgeous. I've never been that far west, and growing up in North Carolina, and I have family in Pennsylvania, Ohio, right where Pennsylvania, Ohio, West Virginia, Kentucky, that area where they all meet. And so I kind of,
Sure.
it's a different culture. So growing up there and then going out to Utah, I was kind of culture shocked, seeing how different it is.
And how does that work? Does he float between national parks, or is he assigned to one?
He worked in Hawaii last year, and they usually do like a year sort of agreement. So he might work for him for a year and then go somewhere else until he finds one that really clicks with him. There's not as much money as welding in it, but he loves what he does, and he's not in it for the money.
Yeah.
He's just passionate about it. So,
there you go. And getting him some good travel and seeing the country, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. All right, man. So growing up, working the hardware, or I guess helping your dad on the weekends, Saturdays, you had your own lawnmower business, you said. And then what about high school? Any sports? What'd you get into?
I swam competitively from the time I was 8 on a year-round club team. And then in high school, of course, I just did swimming. I never really got into baseball. I did Little League when I was a kid. And I remember one night I wanted to go to the pool. And my dad said, well, you got practice. He said, you can choose. You can go swim in that pool, or you can go to Little League, go play ball. And I said, no, I want to go swim. So it kind of just ended up working out anyway. You know what I mean? So
Well, I don't know much about. I was gonna say I don't know much about the competitive swimming. Talk to me about that. What you started at? You said 8 years old.
8 years old, 8 or 9, I believe. Yeah. So that is early mornings and jumping in a cold pool, and it's a very independent sport. It's not a team sport.
Yeah.
I mean, you are on a team, but it is an independent sport. You're competing in individual races, and that shaped me having to get up, jump in a pool, throw your face down in the water. You're not breathing. You're cold. You're shivering. It's early. Coach is making you want to do 2 workouts a day. Get up before school, go either work out in the gym or go hit the pool, and then after school you're coming home, trying to eat something and then go to practice. That culture around swimming was, in some respects, it's a lonely sport, but you're dedicating yourself, and it takes a lot of willpower to get up and say, okay, like I said, jumping in that cold pool and you're miserable and you're shivering, but still, toughing it out and sticking with it. A lot of guys that get into swim young, they don't stay with it because the sport is very very demanding.
I would say it's, the other team sports probably offers some ease in that when you're struggling, your teammates pull you up type stuff. There's a camaraderie on a football team, a baseball team. But I can see what you're talking about as far as swimming, kind of a solo type of deal there. So it probably draws you deeper to discipline and grit.
Yeah,
and really honing in on that things. Getting to know you for who you are. Yeah.
And then
so what was your
high school,
what was your stroke?
Butterfly.
Butterfly. That's the wild one, right? That's the whole.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome, man.
And then in junior year of high school, I was the junior coach, and then senior year, I was head coach on the swim team at my high school.
Nice. And so, what does it look like? I don't even know the season for swimming sports in high school. What you guys starting in
winter.
when?
It's a winter sport.
In the winter.
So
okay.
When you get out
October.
October starts in October, goes through in the winter, and ends in January, February. But it's called a natatorium.
Right.
A lot of people don't know that. It's not a stadium it's called a natatorium. Natatorium. And you get out, and in North Carolina, where I'm from, man, just like in Clemensburg, you're wet and you're cold and you're sitting there shaking, and you can't wait to hop in the car and turn the heater on.
Right. But, yeah. And I would say too it's one of the most physically demanding, right? I mean, as far as cardiovascular, there is no match because you are having to choose when you breathe, right? As far as like pacing yourself and you're exercising every muscle in that body in this pool.
Yeah.
When I was in the military, it's one of the things that we were pushed to do is go on base, go to the pool if you want your cardio, and just swim laps because that's. First of all, it's easier on your joints as far as running goes, but one of the best cardiovascular exercises you could do.
It's a great sport. I miss it. I really miss doing it. Yeah.
Well, that'd be cool then. I mean, raising your kid. I mean, so you're an avid swimmer. You could lifeguard the heck out of something. I mean, as far as you feel very comfortable in the water.
Of course.
A fish.
Yeah.
Yeah, very cool, man. I guess I did not know that about you. Thinking back, I think I would have pegged you maybe as a baseball player or something like that. Just laughing it off here. But
a lot of people say
all right,
that.
very cool.
A lot of people. I
Very
get that
cool.
a lot. They ask me if I played baseball, but me, for my kids, when I do hopefully get married and have children, I want to get them involved in all sports and let them decide. I'm not going to push them towards swimming or baseball or football or golf, soccer, whatever they want to do. They're going to do something. I'm going to make sure of that, but let them decide. Hey, what suits them? Don't.
Okay. Yeah. Very cool.
All
right. What about your faith thing growing up? You said raised Catholic. What's that like for people who don't know?
Strict.
Strict.
Strict. A lot of people, especially in the South, are used to a more come as you are. We love everyone, and the Catholic Church is like that. But it's not a feel good kind of church. You were there to worship.
Okay.
You were there to get on your knees and ask God for forgiveness and say, I'm a sinner and I fall short, and I'm not worthy. But because you gave your only begotten Son to us, that is the only reason we're going to heaven. And it's very
So maybe
I see some of these mega churches. Go ahead. Yeah.
I was going to say heavier on the reverence, you're saying, right? Heavier on the respect and reverence, maybe, than some of maybe some Christian feels that are relationship based, which is okay too, I guess, depending on your flavor. But you're saying, growing up Catholic, much more respect and reverence on how you worship God. Yeah,
absolutely. And we people, there's kind of a mystery around confession, and people have some misconceptions about the Catholic Church and. Oh, we're supposed to confess to God. Why are we confessing to the priest? Well, the priest and the Church's view is dedicated his life. That's why he's not married and doesn't have kids. His congregation is his family. That's supposed to be his main focus. And we're supposed to go to him for spiritual guidance. He's telling us to pray, and we're telling him our sins so he can then pray for us and try to guide his congregation in a certain direction. And then there's the whole thing about Mary. They say we worship Mary. It's the same way if you have a deceased parent and say, I'm struggling today, but Dad, I know you're looking at me up there in heaven. Please pray for me, watch over me. We're not worshiping Mary. All we're doing is saying, you're the mother of God. God chose you, and specifically you, to give birth to his Son. So we see that as really the second most important figure in the Bible. There's something really beautiful in the Catholic Church that we hold Mary to the Immaculate Conception, the Virgin Mary. It's a very beautiful thing in the Catholic Church, is the way we view it.
Yeah.
He was chosen specifically, and we ask her to pray for us. We don't pray to her, but we ask her, pray for us, watch over us. The same way you might ask a deceased relative to watch over you. Does that make sense?
I think going into I think going into the Christmas season, we all start thinking about Mary. I mean, because this will be the birth of our Lord and Savior. I cannot imagine, Gabriel popping in and saying, hey, guess what? I mean, blessed are you, Mary, and you will have, you will be the mother of the living God. That's wild to think about for sure. And then, so some other differences maybe. You guys go... I think you do Wednesday nights as well. And then what about Saturdays? Or Saturdays where you go to do...
Traditional Catholic churches. Now, where I'm from, the Catholic population is pretty small. So usually it's only on Wednesdays and Sundays. But
Wednesdays and
if
Sundays.
you go to a place like maybe Charlotte or maybe some places down there in Lexington or Louisville where they have maybe a larger Catholic population, Mass is usually held every single day. We hold a Mass every day, and sometimes twice a day. And then they'll do confession hours in between that. So the church is always usually open. Catholic churches, and anyone that watches this, or you driving by maybe an old historic part of a city, or just walk up and try the door. Chances are you can walk in there and take your hat off and you can pray, and there'll be somebody in there to talk to. And it's pretty open door policy. But they do hold Mass traditionally, sometimes twice a day, but every day.
Twice a day. And then Mass, is that also with communion?
Yes. But I mean,
I honestly don't know. I don't know as much as I should. I have studied some.
That's okay.
And I think the Roman Catholic is probably the most popular as far as, pop culture, like what you see in movies, that kind of stuff. A lot of things gravitate towards that. So I know what I see and what I've studied. But during Mass, you take communion. Is that?
We do. Yes, sir. The Holy Sacrament.
Is that correct? And then the difference, I think, I mean, I come from a Baptist upbringing. Communion, we still picture that bread and juice as in memory of what Christ did for us. But if I'm not mistaken, on your end, you all Catholics believe that it turns into the body of Christ, the blood of Christ, as it passes through your lips. Is that correct? Yeah.
So it's essentially a reenactment of the Last Supper, and Jesus is telling his disciples, "This is my body, this is my flesh. Eat this and do this for me." And this is my blood. So when the priest blesses the Holy Sacrament and we go up to receive it, am I actually eating a piece of flesh? No. Am I actually drinking blood? No. And it's more symbolic, but the Catholic Church has been around for a long time. And
Sure.
Through the ritualistic nature of it, for lack of a better word, after the priest has blessed it and we receive it, that to us becomes the body of Christ. We are receiving Christ. We are both drinking it to quench our thirst, drinking the blood of Christ to quench our thirst for what we're desiring on this earth that man cannot give itself, and feeding our bellies for what we cannot feed ourselves.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I would go back to Matthew 4:4. Man does not live by bread alone, but by every word from the mouth of God. Yeah,
absolutely.
Excellent. Yeah. So I think we can get on board with that. As far as, like, again, my views would be it's symbolic. It is a command from Christ. Do this in remembrance of me. It's something that we should do. Breaking bread and during that time of communion, I think that you should be inwardly searching. Asking the Holy Spirit to search you out. Where am I falling short? How can I not do better? It's not a works based. I can't work my way into heaven. That's what Christ did for us on the cross. But I think that every day we should be walking more closely with Jesus and showing him to others. So anywhere I can dig a little deeper, how did Paul put it? To be a good soldier for Christ, I think is the way I kind of come across it. But yeah,
absolutely,
yeah, excellent. So yeah, and then of course I can always dig any religion that says that it boils down to Christ and Christ alone. I would take argument. I'm going to say that lightly. Argument with even some of my Christian friends who would say that that maybe you have to be something else. Christ plus, and then they add something on top of that. Because in my reading of the Bible, we fall short, and there's nothing we can do except for Christ on the cross. So what he did for me was enough, and Hebrews says that the high priest is seated at the right hand of God, so the work is done, and all we can do is accept that grace and mercy. But
absolutely,
man, I love it. I love these deep talks. I knew this would be good, Ethan, because when you were at KWI, we always had, you started talking about Jordan Peterson when you were at KWI. Have I ever listened to him and turned him on, that kind of stuff? I see some Charlie Kirk posts on your Facebook. I know you're a deep thinker. Already you've thrown it out a couple times, how great our nation is and beautiful it is, and I can feel the patriotism in you, and all that just from your raising. So your parents, your brothers, I mean, you guys just a household full of thinking, conservative, faith-based family, right? Is that
so? My mom has a minor in history.
Oh, nice.
From her college education. So growing up in Kentucky and that East Coast is so enriched with the history of our founding as a nation. So as kids, we were going up to Colonial Williamsburg. We went up to Monticello. That's Thomas Jefferson's house. We went up to George Washington's house, and that was my parents' idea of a weekend trip for the kids. Like, hey, let's take them somewhere historical. And I guess it seems kind of dorky to some people, but looking back at it now, like, I talked to some of my peers, and they, I was talking to a welder at work the other night, and she's like, "Oh, where are you from?" I said, "North Carolina." And she's like, "Oh, that's way up there, ain't it?" And I was like, "I mean, from this part of Texas, yeah, it's pretty far." And I was like, "But you kind of know where it is on a map." And she's like, "No, why do I need to know where other states are on a map? I'm from Texas. I don't care about anything else." And I'm like, You don't. I mean,
That's
if you don't know about the country you live in, and that's sad to me. That's a scary thing
yeah, but
for me personally.
and I say this tongue in cheek, but that sounds like something someone from Texas would say, man. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
They're so big they don't care about anybody else, I guess.
But my dad we took pride in things, and we kept the house clean and the yard clean, and there was I think it's the way he was raised. You know, his dad worked at a concrete plant his whole life, and there's just pride. You don't have to be rich, you don't have to be millionaire, but just taking pride in the things that you own and your work. And you know, like part of being Catholic, we didn't go outside the house in like sweatpants or anything like that as kids, because we were expected. You have nice clothes, you're going to put your nice clothes on. I don't care if we're going to Walmart, we're going to the shopping mall. You're not going to dress a certain way because it doesn't reflect the values that my dad held for his family. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, I think I'm the same way. Like I typically, you know, around the house, maybe I might wear some sweatpants or some shorts. But if we're just going to go pick up a pizza in town, I'm gonna put some jeans on and some boots. You know, I'm gonna look like I just went to work or came from work. I don't know what it is. Maybe I'm old school too, but that's just how I am.
Yeah. I won't go out in anything less. I mean, that's just the way I was raised. Like in my church growing up as a Catholic, the elders in the church, the older men, they had a closet full of belts, and if a young man wasn't wearing a belt on his pants, they'd go grab a belt out of the closet and make the kid put a belt on. You know.
All right, so let's talk high school wise. At what point? What year did you graduate high school?
I graduated in 2021.
21. So at what point did you start to think about, your dad's a police officer, your mom's a teacher, one brother, out in Utah or Hawaii at this point, I don't know which, but and then your other brother following in your dad's footsteps to be a cop. Where did you start feeling your own as far as career choice?
Probably about ninth grade. I started working, more so with some older guys that I knew from high school and kind of looked up to. And some of these guys did like grading businesses or backhoe service around town. And
sure,
I'd go out and help them for like $10 an hour cash. And I was just excited to be able to run a piece of equipment, and just get my hands dirty. And I kind of always knew I had a calling towards working with my hands. And I didn't do the best in high school. I tested really well, but I had a hard time going home and doing homework and doing projects. But my test scores were great. I did really well in the ACTs and the SATs, like good enough to get myself into some state schools that are good schools to go to. But my GPA was pretty low because I just didn't. I like to learn how I wanted to learn, and I didn't really like the way school did it. And you're taking these young men full of testosterone, you're putting them in a desk under fluorescent lighting and saying sit there for 8 hours, and I just don't learn like that, and that's not how I like to do things. And I like to read. I'm a pretty avid reader, and I remember being in like English class, and they want us to read this book, and I tell them like, "Hey, I already read the book." "Oh, well, you need to read it again." "No, whatever." So
yeah, a lot of times they're just trying to keep you busy, right? I mean, they got 30 heads to watch over, so they're just trying to busy work type stuff. Yeah, that wears you out.
And but as I started to progress, I started looking into the trades, and a family friend of ours owns an electrical company down there in Durham, North Carolina. It's about 45 minutes from the town I grew up. And the town I grew up is kind of right on the Virginia border. So it's 45 minutes down there. And he told me, he said, "Kid, I know your mother, I know your dad. Well, we can hire you on after high school." So high school came and went, and my dad let me enjoy my graduation night. And he woke me up the next morning, bright and early, and said, "Well, son, you haven't applied to any colleges." And I think at the time I was working at Food Line. And he said, "You're only working at Food Line." He said, "You can go to school, you can go get a real job, or you can find somewhere else to live." And so,
Three options.
I went to school. I went to work 2 days later for that electrical company. And I know you asked about how I got into welding, and I went and worked for them. And this was right around the time, right after COVID. I remember pre-COVID, gas stations and stuff were paying like $7.25, $8, maybe $9.
Right.
Then after COVID, people started demanding 12, 13, 14, 15. And I could have
That's because those dang stimulus checks.
Yeah,
That's because those dang stimulus checks were $600 a week, which averages out to $15 an hour, which is where the left wanted us to be on minimum wage, right? I mean, it was all a.
Yep.
We can go down that rabbit hole, I guess, when you want later. Get some Jordan Peterson up in here, but keep going, keep going.
I just realized, like, hey, I mean, I'm working and I am making money, but I said I could quit and go to the freaking Walmart down the road and make more money for less hassle, you know.
Right.
Because they hired me. I was only 17. I graduated before I turned 18, and I was out there digging feeder trenches for the feeder. The shore power coming in. We were building a schoolhouse down there in Raleigh, North Carolina, and I was digging trenches by hand, 6 foot deep, with a trench shovel, sitting there just all day. Summer, right after high school, it's 90, 95 degrees out, making awful money. I mean,
right.
I'm not trying to
and
dog
the guy.
company.
No, but the guy working at Taco Bell now is making $12-15 an hour, right? I mean, what?
So I was making less than that, digging trenches by hand, and I just said, I don't know that this is for me, but I progressed maybe 6, 7, 8 months, and you know, I was doing all right and stuff. And I had a little high school girlfriend, and was seeing her, you know, every other afternoon, and I seen some welders on the job, and they were in the chiller. A lot of these new constructions now want instant hot water and instant cold water, so they're welding these chillers out, and I asked them, I was like, y'all do pretty good? And they're like, yeah, we do all right for ourselves. And I said, well, y'all are staying late today, right? They're like, yeah. What are you getting at? And I said, well, I kind of interested in what y'all are doing. Do you mind if I'm going to let my crew leave, and I'm going to stay off the clock and just hang out with the welders and see what y'all are all about? And, you know, they grabbed a spare hood out of the truck and let me watch, and was watching these guys fit and weld. I think it was a bunch of 6-inch carbon steel. And I was like, yep, that's what I want to do. And I came in the next day, put in my 2-week notice.
Nice.
And then that's when I started looking at welding schools, and I seen KWI on TikTok, and I asked my parents about it. I was like, hey, you think maybe, you know, I could go to one of these welding schools? Well, my dad wanted me to go to the community college welding school. I just told him, hey, we'll check KWI out. He's kind of on the fence, and he looked at some of the other big welding schools you see out there on TikTok and stuff. And he asked me what I thought about those, and I told him, no, I kind of like this one. And what sold him is y'all have a video where Ron Paul comes and endorses KWI.
Right.
And that sold my dad. He was like, all right, you can go. That's what did it for me.
We'll have to get Ron back here a time or two. Yeah. Very cool. So then you picked out KWI. You come to us in 2022. What was it like then, I guess, the transition? Talk to us a little bit about school. Instructors, shift, welding pace. What do you think?
I thought it was the bee's knees when I first showed up there. I was like so excited to be a welder. The instructors, yeah, man, they're there to help. KWI has good instructors, and a lot of those guys, from what I understand, is they bounce from the field, and then when they don't want to work in the field, they come back and they instruct, and they can be home with their wives and children or whatever they have going on there at home, and then they can go back out in the field. Right. I think that keeps them fresh, because what I see from some of these other schools is it looks like these are just full-time instructors. They might not have touched the field for a year, 2 years, 3 years, whatever it may be. And things are rapidly changing in the welding industry, especially right now with all this new technology, and that's something I want to get into. We're running a pretty cool process out here at this job I'm working on, and a lot of people haven't heard of it. We can get into the welding part later, but
all right.
Yeah, the instructors are good. The pace, it really is a self-paced system. I mean, I never felt rushed or pushed. I think it's all in what you make it. KWI offers you the opportunity to work over on shifts, especially if you're a hard worker and they see potential in you. You can sit in that shop 16 hours a day and prep coupons, or just sit there and burn rod down and just get after it. I mean, and then you know, I know y'all got some heavy wall coupons and stuff laying around for guys that want to try that kind of stuff out, and y'all got a lot of alloy. And I hate to say it, but I'm a man of truth. I didn't spend my time at Kentucky Welding Institute the way I wish I would have. You know, I was tired. I struggled with welding. Go ahead.
To say, looking back, what would you have changed then? What do you think?
I enjoyed the freedom of being away from home a little too much. And I think a lot of them guys, that was for a lot of those guys, that's their college experience. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
Yeah.
they kind of get caught up in things outside of school and what you're there to do. And I think that's getting caught up in that is what didn't allow me to flourish the way I could have. And if I could go back, I would have been more focused on school and really dedicated myself. Because I struggled there for a little bit getting off the stick plate test. And you know, I got hung up on stick and flux core both actually for a little while. I think a week and a half to 2 weeks after what you're supposed to move on from. You know, because it is self-paced, but there is kind of a curriculum that KWI assigns to you. And I think if I would have pulled my head out of my ass, I would have done a lot better and been a little bit more mature. People mature at different rates, and I was where I was at the time. I can't sit back and look with regret, but I think if I would have been more focused and been more dedicated, been a little bit more mature, I would have done a whole lot better at KWI because the opportunity was there, but I didn't seize it to its full potential.
Yeah, I was going to say, and just you talking this out right now with your honesty is going to help guys, you know, down the road. I mean, anybody picking up this podcast is going to say, hey, I remember Ethan telling it how it was, and he wished he would have spent a little more time, you know, left it all in the field, so to speak. And that's great. We're trying to do a couple things. First of all, we're a small town. Like, there's not much to do here. So like you're saying, if you're getting ornery outside hours, you're having to be creative because all it is grass, cattle pastures, and not much here. But we just opened a 4,000 square foot gym that is free to KWI students. So those guys have 24/7 access to a hammer strength gym. So that's one of the things we're trying to do to give some productive avenues to offload some energy, I guess. But yeah, like you said, you could also you can weld your 8s, 5/8s, or you can pull 12s or 16s, like you're saying, and really, while you're here, sort of get baptized into KWI, full submersion there. So.
And I'll say, get used to it, because when I first came out to this job, schedule was 4 10s and an 8. And they're asking, hey, you want to work 12, you want to work 14, you want to work 16, you want to work Sundays, you want to pull 3 weeks, 4 weeks in a row working 7 12, 7 14s. You might as well just get used to it, because that's right. Some of these contractors and stuff, especially when you're working for these specialty companies, that's what they're going to want from you. And if you can't give it, there's a line of people at the door trying to get your spot,
Yeah.
So I think I would go back and just slap myself across the face, shake me, and say, "What are you doing, man? Like, come on!" And that's okay. I don't live with regret, but I see KWI as a stepping stone for me, like, to where I got it. I think you just termed it slingshots you into the industry.
Yeah.
If I would have went to the community college, they don't offer just welding courses. I would have had to go and take an English class with it and a basic math class and gotten some sort of applied welding associate's degree that would, in all honesty, would show up on some recruiter's desk, and he'd be like, this guy's never welded in the field a day in his life, and this is what he's got. They just, so.
Well, and I think also what a lot of people miss is the networking. So you're from North Carolina. You're in the booth next to somebody from Texas, Alaska, Arkansas, Florida, California.
Yes,
just the networking is worth it. Now, if you go to a community college, you're getting what you always got. I mean, you're right. You're in a welding booth next to the high school peers you had, last fall. I don't know how that helps you as far as advance, broaden your horizons, so to speak. But yeah, there's a lot too going to a good weld school. Although Ethan, here lately, man, me and Keegan have been saying we're a weld school who hates weld schools, because there's so many popping up right now and just sort of cranking out booth welders with just a certificate. They're getting them on a carbon piece of pipe and kicking them out the door. And we push stainless, and then we have that golden arm program. I mean, we're trying to offer you the full buffet of copper, nickel, Inconel, chrome, super duplex, branch and bell hole. Really put it on you guys. And so hoping to separate, and we got a lot of guys working all over the country, like yourself. You're in Texas right now, even though you were from North Carolina, went to school in Kentucky. And then we got a lot of guys turning on to some double time companies and doing a lot more weld testing for companies and contractors right in house now. So guys are just Yeah, I mean, it's a beautiful thing. So what was it like 2022 graduating KWI? What was your first job out?
My first job out was at a local company, BFS Industries. They Boiler Feed Services is what it stands for, and
Right?
they what they do is they manufacture, and they manufacture tanks in house and piping, usually just for it's all chilled water. It's like a boiler feed. These are just holding tank units that are feeding boilers for small applications. And they do some fuel stuff too that feeds. They do some fuel piping, instrumentation, tube bending, and stuff like that for fuel tanks and,
Sure.
and stuff along those lines. And really, it was a good job for me to go back home. I never been away from home for that long, and it was local. And I could be home every night. And I just gotten a
So
new dog.
weld tests.
No weld. They gave me a flux core weld test, and that was my first
Flux
kind
core
of
weld
hang
test.
up. Flux core on plate, and I smoked it. And I remember the shop manager was sitting there looking at me like, "Dang, kid." I was like, "Flux core? Like it's just a plate
Right.
test." Like, and he was like, "All right." Well, he's like, he asked me, "Do you know how to weld pipe?" I was like, "Well, I do know how to weld pipe." But for the time being, what I was doing is I was using overhead crane and grabbing steel I-beams, putting them on a roller, sliding them into the bandsaw, learning how to read structural prints, make sure all my cuts. And I was fitting up. I was building stands, and then building the saddles that the tank actually sits in. I was building those and cutting all
Sure.
the plate steel and stuff. And then I kept asking. I was like, "Hey, I want to weld pipe. I want to weld pipe. I want to weld pipe." And KWI is great because y'all do both structural and pipe. Y'all
Right.
put us through both, so that kind of gave me a leg up. But got some pipe work, and then did pretty good at that, and got real good with flux core, obviously, and fabricating and doing structural steel fabrication. But I wanted
But
more.
yearning for the
than
pipe.
that.
You wanted, yeah.
I yearned for the pipe, absolutely,
Yeah.
and I wanted more than that place could offer me. But there is something
Right.
to be said for those small town businesses because it was a good company and they
Sure.
took good care of us. And if you are just a small town guy and you want to go back to your hometown, find a good company that's going to take care of you that you can ride with. I mean, they did the 401k match. They gave me overtime, and those companies. There's something to be said for those guys that don't have to travel, but you just want to make a decent living. And
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
be at home. There's nothing wrong with it. But I wanted
So when did you make the jump? How did the transition? Because you're in a union now, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So you made a big switch. You went from a local company, tank welding, structural, and non-union to a union pipe outfit. Is that right?
Yeah.
So talk to me about that.
I remember the day that I quit. I can't remember the specific day, but I remember. And we're gonna clip and edit this, and I'll just tell you straight up. Somebody at work made
Sure.
a racial comment to me of another race, and I went in and told supervision, "Hey, if this was the other way around, dude, I would be canned. Y'all be firing me, tell me to grab my hood, get your shit." And they just like, "Oh well, we're gonna bring y'all in the office, and he's gonna apologize to you, and y'all can shake hands." And I was really just like, you know what? I've been saving my money living with mom and dad. Like, I don't need this. I put in my 2 weeks notice. I tried to be, and that was it for me. I didn't want to stay there, and I'd been on the fence about branching out. I wanted to travel,
Right. So
You
this was
dream
a
about
good
it.
reason, I guess, right? Yeah.
I could have stayed and dealt with it. I could have. I was trying to be the bigger person. I didn't make a big deal out of it, but I said, y'all ain't gonna. I kind of got the red ass as a slang term in the industry for getting tired of the situation that you're in. I got that a little bit, and just told them, hey man, like I'm gonna put in my 2 week notice, and I did. And I worked out. I still worked my overtime and stuff, and I still performed how they wanted me to. And I shook hands with everyone and said thanks for the opportunity, but I gotta go. And then where I went right after that was Kentucky Welding Institute. And I remember I walked in the shop with my buddy Ian Burcham. He hired in with me. I don't know if you remember him quite so well, but we walked in and Blake Hawkins was in there, and we're like, hey, we want to renew our AWS certifications. And that's another good thing about KWI is you can go back up there and do your certification renewals. And that's what we did. And I think we welded a couple coupons out, and we said, hey, let's go get a pizza. And we went up over by, Save-A-Lot up there in town by the Little Caesars?
Yep, that's right.
So we went up there to the parking lot and got a Little Caesars pizza, and we ran into Al Winters. He's an organizer for the Ohio Pipe Trades. And he's like, what are you doing?
That's right.
I'm out of work. And he remembered me from KWI because I stayed behind to talk to him and see what, the union was all about. And he gave me his card. And I was on the fence. I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. But, I'm sitting there thinking like, hey, I just quit my job. I don't have anything lined up right now. Maybe this wouldn't be such a bad idea. There's a program up there at Local 577 right across the river from y'all.
Yeah, Portsmouth. Yeah.
Portsmouth, yes, sir. And he told me, hey, go up to this school. And I think several. I think I know a Brandon that graduated. He welded with me when I was there. A couple guys that went up there to the program they run, and they take these guys, a lot of these guys from these welding schools or KWI, and they test them and they get them up to the union sets its own standards for what they want and what they're looking for as far as journeymen go, and they get you up to that standard. And I went up there and just wrote out my last penny, like just shooting for it. And I got all these certifications within the union, which are actually, it's AWS standard, but the union just puts their label on it. It's still, all these halls are accredited with AWS, just the same as Kentucky Welding Institute. And then he called local halls across the country and said, hey, I got this guy, he's young, he's ambitious, do y'all need welders? And I came down to Memphis, Tennessee, and I was scared. Memphis gets a bad rap. And I came down there, and they had me test again. And I think I took 5 weld tests. I took a Schedule 10 stainless, a Schedule 40 stainless, 60-10, 70-18 combo test, a TIG stick combo test. And then what else did I do? I did a stainless on carbon, I believe. Because all the tests they had me do. And they were only going to bring me in as a second-year apprentice, but I had OSHA through KWI. I had rigging certs through KWI. All these certifications behind my name. I have my TWIC card. Stuff that the hall didn't have to then put me through to get me to a journeyman level. Asked me, they said I was 19 years old, and they said, hey, you want to be a journeyman? I said, sign me up. It was easy as that.
So that's that catapult we're talking about into those higher pay scales, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. So I went out of KWI. I made $20 an hour. Got up within, I think, 8 or 9 months. Not even, maybe 6 months. Working there, showing them I knew how to weld pipe. They bumped me up to 25. Then they asked me to run a forklift. They gave me a 75-cent raise, and I was working overtime. So I left there making $26.75, which I was 18 at the time, or 19.
Yeah.
That's
at a
not
local
bad
company.
for a 19-year-old kid,
awesome. Living at home, right?
Yeah, and
but then that J1, what I was gonna say, what that J1 bump you to? On the check, you're probably 30 or 40, and then with your benefits, 50 or 60, right?
At the time, out of my hall, I was making 42 on the check at 19 years old, plus benefits. So we were doing well.
So and benefits, talk us through, because there'll be a lot of guys listening to this, Ethan, and even guys at KWI right now, and they're saying, do I want to go non-union? Do I want to go union? And we can get into some politics on that, but I'd rather leave that aside. Yeah. Just talk to us about what it means to you on the benefits side, and for your career, how that all works, because the union's paying you. Yeah, go ahead.
Let me preface this with one thing, and anyone who listens to this, I've said some different stuff in the past when I was a little bit less mature. As long as you are putting food on your table and providing for your family, union or non-union, I respect it. I'm not sitting there. Really, there's some guys on either side that hate union, guys on the union side that hate the non-union guys. As long as you are putting money in your pocket and you're providing for your family, I can't judge a man for how he makes it. That's y'all's decision. I can tell you what I'd like to do, but anyway, I just want to preface it with that. But
no, I'll back that up and say that I bet KWI graduates, I bet it's close to a 60-40 split. I'd say 60% go non, 40% go union. And sometimes people try to drag us into that argument that you're talking about. And our answer is simple. If you want union, that's what we want for you. If you want non-union, then that's what we want for you. As long as you're employed, that's what we're bragging about is 100% job placement. So go to work, be happy. We're happy for you. Yeah.
So benefits.
But the benefits, dig in. Yeah.
So common misconceptions about the union. I don't want to preach union to anyone, but I can explain some misconceptions. They think that you're getting all this stuff, but it's being taken out of your check. So we get what's called on the check pay. So let's say you're making $40 an hour. That $40 an hour is going into your pockets, getting drafted into my bank account every week. The benefits are paid on top of that by the contractor. So in places that are strong union, which is not Texas, I'm surprised I'm down here working union anyway, but places that are strong and have a lot of union membership, these companies will go to these halls or go to the union and say, hey, we want y'all's members, we want y'all's craft to come and work this job. And the hall says, well, you're going to pay them X amount hourly on the check. And on top of that is what's going to be your benefits. So you're going to make a certain amount in a pension every month. Some locals have a national pension. Some locals have a local pension, which is saying like our local pension right now in Memphis, Tennessee is $8.40 some odd cents. So, and our journeyman scale is $42.50. So that's working in town. If you're working in our local jurisdiction where we have the work at, you're making 42 whatever, and then they're paying you $8 on top of that every hour you work into a pension. So every hour I work, they're throwing $8 in an account. $8 for every union member. And then on top of that, the contractor covers our health insurance. And I wish more, I don't know if a lot of guys are doing 1099 anymore, but I wish a lot more guys would look into health insurance. But the hall covers your health insurance for you. And it's usually an 80-20 kind of style health insurance. But so max out of pocket I'll ever pay for myself is $3,700 a year. Max per family is right around $8,000. So everything else in that is covered by the hall. The contractor pays that. Is an agreement to employ union labor. They're covering my health insurance. So when I see that $42, $45, $50, $30 on the check, all that's going to me. All those benefits are paid on top of that from the contractor that's employing union labor. So that's a misconception.
And like you said,
this is coming out of your check. It's not coming out of your check. It's paid on top.
Yeah, and so when the recruiters come in and they'll say, hey, we're hiring J1, we're paying $50 and $60 an hour, typically the next question is what's on the check? And then they'll tell you, well, it's $40. So that extra above, that headroom is for all your benefits, your health, your dental, your vacation, your pension, all that good stuff. But yeah, the question, what's on the check, is still a dang good wage at that J1 pay scale.
Absolutely. Unfortunately, a lot of these locals in the South, where the union's not as strong, Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, their wages really aren't up there yet. Memphis is kind of where you're towing that line. Memphis, Nashville local, Knoxville, Johnson City is where you're starting to get into those better benefit package, those higher wages. The union's kind of stronger. And you start moving over to St. Louis, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, even Kentucky. 502's had a lot of work. Local 502 down there in Louisville has had a lot of work recently. Yeah. And it's just something to consider, But I grew up anti-union.
Right. Conservative-wise, yeah, that would be typical,
absolutely.
Right? Talk to us about the per diem. I think union has per diem rates, right? I mean, where maybe if I'm working for PCL or TEI, they're going to say 36 and 120 about no matter where I'm at. But with the union, you guys actually, you might look up a zip code, and it changes depending on what city you're in, right?
It's a certain percentage over your journeyman scale. I'm not sure exactly what it is. The highest rate and the highest I've been paid in Memphis, Tennessee, which could still be considered the South, was $50 and $200.
Wow.
It's $50 an hour, $200 a day. And if you're out of a Memphis local, you're home. Now, I'm from North Carolina, and I went where the opportunity for me was. But you're home every night paying $50, $200. And that $200 was with a specialty company that's picking up a lot of the nuclear work now. We were doing and that's something I actually did want to get into. Now I'm thinking about it in my head, but it was nuclear specialty. That $200 is paid regardless. Paid 7 days a week. take a 2-week vacation, whatever, you're still getting your per diem for that. So that's a good wages, and on top of that 50 and 200, you're making your benefits.
Right. So talk to me. We want to get into some finance. What moves are you making at a young age, early 20s, to set yourself up? Then, so are you only looking at your union pension, or are you starting to peel back and do your own IRA investing, money market type stuff? What are you doing?
I got the union pension, so I have my local pension, I have my national pension. So there's two right there. And then I have my own personal Roth IRA, and I use Fidelity. You can kind of use whoever you want to. I mean, that's, dealer's choice. It's your money. Invest it how you want to. And all that's S&P 500 long-term stocks. That's what I'm looking for long-term. And I max that out every year. Plus, and I sometimes I go plus some because they penalize you for it, but it's really not a heavy penalty. And I don't care. I make too much being single for me to even really have a Roth IRA, so you have to pay the penalty for it anyway. But I don't. It's fine. And on top of that, I do some investing, but most of the investing I do is in stuff I see in the industry. And what's really popping off right now is liquid natural gas. These LNG plants are pop. That's what I'm working at right now. These LNG plants are popping off everywhere. I know guys are working up in Corpus Christi, Texas. Some engineers up there that came down to the job I'm on, I was talking to them. And they were like, hey, kid, you should invest in the company, the client that we're building for down here. And I was like, well, why is that? And he's like, well, because I put $25,000 of my money into X amount of stock. I think Cheniere Energy is the one that built the one up in Corpus. And their $50,000 investment in like 5 years' time turned into $5 or $6 million.
Wow.
You don't see that
incredible.
kind of return on investment from S&P 500. That's kind of that risky investment. If you got that kind of money to burn, if you're like, okay, win or lose, I'm gonna put $50,000 into it. There's a demand for energy. All the green stuff.
Oh yeah.
Windmills. And if that was the future, like Landman said, and Billy Bob Thornton, if that was the future, these oil companies would be pumping billions of dollars into this crap. But no, they're spending $20-30 billion down here in South Texas building the LNG plant I'm working on. And the client, I'm just every week $200-300 worth of stock, and it's selling it for like $5 a share right now. So I'm just boom, 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 boom. And hopefully that
good stuff.
That can be my nest egg for buying a house. But look into what's going on in the industry around. Unless you're a stock professional, which nobody watching this probably is going to be, look at your industry. Look at the way things are changing. A lot of these coal burners, I know these old school guys are like, man, working in the boiler house and the coal burners, and it's dying out. And unfortunately, there's gonna come a point in America where it's dead. And you got to look to the future. The people who survive have to adapt, and trying to hang on to some of that old school mentality. And AI is the future. Data centers are popping up all over the place, and the union is getting a lot of it. And these data centers paying guys $45 and $150 to do craftsmanship, but you're not getting pushed like you are in an outage, and it's long-term work. You can sit there making $45 and $150 for 3-4 years, and then invest in those companies. Look at their stock prices, But that's, for me, most of my investing goes into what I know, what I'm seeing from the company, and I pay attention to the industry, because the welding industry and natural gas and oil and stuff, that's what I'm in. So that's where my money goes. As far as
and like you're saying, these AI data centers essentially have to create their own power plants to support. It takes so much power to run, like a Chat GPT. We'll just use a layman, but essentially they're building their own grid to run these things. Yep. So I mean, what's that look like for a welder and the trades in the next 5 to 10? Because this thing is booming off right now as far as artificial intelligence.
So you'll see mostly chilled water. That's it. These things are, any guys that do any PC gaming or anything like that, or even on a laptop, you're going to see that thing's got a fan in it to keep it cool. That thing creates heat while it's running. Well, same with these data centers. So they run massive chilled water pipes, all for cooling, all up and down these data centers. And it's high pay and low stress. Most of it's not X-rayed. You can as long as you're a good welder and you make it hold water. I'm not trying to say it's an easy way to get money, but low stress, you get hired on for a couple years. Don't have to worry about popping.
They call it the gravy.
It is gravy.
The gravy in the industry, right? That's right.
Job I'm on now, it's job I'm on now is 100% X-ray. And they don't. You sometimes got to worry about your job. Or when you send one off to QC and, you're like, I don't know, cross my fingers, hope it shoots. You know what I mean?
Talk to us about working on a 100% X-ray job. What's your shot record have to be? How many bad shots can you have if we got to retest or take a walk?
I'm working for Bechtel. So Bechtel has it's a Bechtel subsidiary called Custom Arc. And Custom Arc is their union specialty side.
I was going to say Bechtel's double-breasted, right? Bechtel itself is non-union, but Custom Arc is union, right? Is that, yeah.
Yes, so you've heard of Custom Arc before?
Yes, sir.
Okay, yeah. So, but anyway, I do work for Custom Arc, and working 100%, it's just, they want 2% out here. So you bust one in your first 2%. 50, you're fired. And they will 100% fire you. I've seen it. I've seen guys get fired on their first weld out here. And that's just the way it is. I was
going to say, what some young guys don't understand is, so Ethan takes a weld test, he gets on the job, but then they have production welds as well. And if you're doing 100% X-ray, that means that every 100 welds, he can have 2 bad shots. Anything over that, and he's out the door. That's tough. And like you're saying, that's the high stress, because this is your paycheck, this is your livelihood, and every weld. If you're a fitter for Ethan, probably a whole lot less stress. You fit things up and you're always pulling a check. But Ethan's job depends on his shot record. That's tough.
Well, this Custom Arc down here now is hiring union fitters too, and you get a line number wrong, or you got a 90 rolled wrong, and you weld that out, and it's heavy wall. And I mean, we're welding 2 1/4 inch thick carbon steel, compound bevels, J bevels out here. You get that wrong, and you got to call the machinist out to cut that out. Fitters are getting fired too. They're losing their job.
I got you.
But I drove down from North Carolina, about 24-hour drive down there to Houston, and I had to take 4 weld tests. So I had to take a Schedule 10 stainless, TIG stick, so 70S6 TIG wire, and then 7018 rest of the way out. And then 70S6, TIG wire, carbon, monster coupon. I had to TIG that all the way out. And then we did something called STT. I don't remember if y'all have that up there.
Well, we've got the Miller version. We do RMD, but yeah,
you do RMD. So it's an STT test, and a lot of guys haven't touched that. And the biggest pipe we have out here on site is 72-inch stainless.
Wow.
And you hear it in your head, and it's like 72. That's a big pipe.
Yeah.
That's a monster. You're getting 4 guys on that. Every guy's grabbing a quarter. So that's what we do. We run, it's a wire-fed stainless process. That's what my job was dependent on. You come down here, and you got to take these 4 tests and weld a process you've never welded before, and your job's riding on it. And then you got to show up. You got to drive 6 hours down here from Houston to come to the job, and then you got, like he said, qualifiers and 50, 1 in 50, you're done. That's it. So, but they're paying the big dollars.
Put that 72-inch pipe into perspective. A little over 18 feet around. So that's probably a week's worth of work right there, depending on the schedule you're talking.
Nope.
Yeah.
No. Custom Arc.
How fast you popping that off?
It's burn. Out here, 48-inch, 72-inch. With 2 guys on it, if the leads are already pulled, if we've had helpers already pull the leads in argon and the trimix, because STT runs a trimix of CO2, helium, and argon. If all that stuff's pulled and set up, ready for us to go, and all we got to do is go in there, weld, cut dogs off, and then keep tying in our sections where we're putting in the root, and we're getting after it, which is what Custom Arc wants. 14 hours. 16 hours. And that's 2 guys.
Dang.
I mean, the way the specialty companies work is you're there because you're special. You're expected to work. You're expected to haul ass. 48-inch heavy wall with a J bevel, 1.5 inch, 1 3/4. Me and a guy that I've worked with before that I work well with, carbon steel, 10 hours, 12 hours. And we're sitting there all day with 532s running 200 amps. Hacking metal in this thing,
Yeah.
And that's what they want. These companies want production.
Now on that STT, you're just doing a downhill route, and then what are you coming on top of that with?
Downhill route, and then 316 wire stainless. But
Gotcha.
any guys that don't know about RMD, I don't know about RMD as much, but STT, better clean that route up and run pretty cold on the hot pass, or you will suck the guts out of that route, you know. And
yeah.
Cut out on a heavy wall like that, and the client could be mad at you, and you can have 200 good X-rays and get one, but it's a heavy wall and it's a tough place for a cutout. They might fire you anyway.
Right. Yeah. So STT is just the Lincoln version. Stands for Surface Tension Transfer, and then Miller calls it RMD, Regulated Metal Deposition. I think they both claim that they invented it, or however that works. You know how it goes, but it's just the Ford and Chevy of the same process, really. Yeah. All right, man. So you're down in Texas now. How long is the job? How long are you staying?
As long as I want to, really.
You enjoying the state? Enjoying where you're at? The guys you're working with, everything's good?
The guys I'm working with are fine. I have nothing against the guys I work with. I'm not the biggest fan of Texas or South Texas. If I went straight south, I'm maybe a mile and a half from the border, and it's safe. It's safe. I mean, there's nothing really dangerous about it. It's just not me. And like I talked about that cultural difference. It's
a lot different than where you're from, North Carolina. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. But really, realistically, till they're done with this project, how long I could stay out here? Probably the next 6 years.
Nice.
7 maybe. So good long term.
And so what's that look like?
You know?
Yeah, definitely. What's that look like family? I mean, so what are you picturing in the next 5 to 10, Ethan? I mean, you talked about a girlfriend in high school. I haven't heard anything since on that. Yeah, you came up with a strong family background. I know you got to be thinking down the road, be intentional for sure. But right now, all you're worried about, your focus is just stockpiling, building the bank account, the investments, getting ready for that. You're just putting in the necessary work, you're saying.
I really want to. I do want to go back home. Like I've kind of been out on the road since I left, and you know, from that job in my hometown, and just these jobs can be very demanding, and you get caught up chasing the money and stuff. And I remember, you know, I hadn't seen my parents for 6-7 months, and then I seen them, and they were noticeably aged in the face. And I said, man, now every time I'm going home to see my parents, they're getting older and older and older. And, you know, I think that this industry, so 5 years. I would like to own a house or at least some property and get everything set up where I have enough finances to go home for a year and try to do something for myself, whether it's heavy equipment repair. I've been looking into line boring, but, you know, the Raleigh-Durham area of North Carolina and Charlotte is growing like crazy, but it's not heavy industrial work. It's all commercial work. They're putting up apartment complexes and shopping centers, but all that kind of equipment that needs welded on and needs repaired on, and thinking about maybe starting something local as that growth in the North Carolina area keeps happening. A lot of people from California moving there, a lot of people from New York moving there, and if you know, you see a need, you feel a need. You know, and I see the need for welders, especially from North Carolina. It's not a common trade. You come down here to Texas, there's welders on every block. You know, everyone's a welder down here. And
yeah, Texas, I'd like to own especially the Houston area. I was going to comment real quick because I'm in and out. Charlotte is a hub for like the Lexington airport. Like every time I fly somewhere, Lexington's going to ship me through Charlotte. Yeah. And they're going to ship me through Charlotte, I think, is the hub. But I'm always hearing over the loudspeaker there that Charlotte is the fastest growing city in the United States right now.
Yes, sir. It is.
Yeah, a lot of growth going on. Yeah.
Tons of growth, but not industrial, you know. It's not plant work. It's, like I said, commercial businesses, data centers, shopping centers, apartments, and, you know, apartment complexes. But, you know, I would like to be married and have children. I don't want to wait too long to do that. I would like to buy a piece of property and then start building a house, but get my assets and my fallback plans and my money right where I can take time, a year or two off this industry and still float myself while trying to start my own business. And if it fails, then I can always come back out on the road. You know, it's right. But taking the time and having the upfront capital, and really the best thing about this industry is if you work hard, it can be high paying really fast, and it can be a stepping stone to get somewhere else. Because nothing against these people, there's older guys in the industry, and I don't want to be that 60-year-old on a turnaround. That's not what I want for my life.
Right. And unfortunately, some of those guys are jammed up, right? I mean, as far as just early on in their career, that first 3 to 5, they blew a lot of money. They invested in liabilities, not assets like you're talking about. They got into some promiscuous relationships or whatnot. Maybe they're divorced twice, 3 times, paying alimony, paying child support. But those are life decisions. You know, if you wake up 40 years old and are unhappy, it's your fault. So hopefully, kind of like you're talking about, Ethan, just be intentional. Think 5 years down the road, and the small things will take care of the big things. You'll be all right.
But yeah, man, but hopefully after getting some more experience, trying to maybe go back to my hometown, spend some more time around my family, and really get to a place where I can settle down, and I don't want to see my children, you know, I don't want to see my kids' first steps over FaceTime. I want to be there for that moment. You know, I want to be there to, if my kid wants to do Little League, to throw pitch for him, and, you know, stuff like that.
Coach that swim team.
Of course, whatever it may be.
That's right.
That I feel like a lot of guys in this industry miss out on because they didn't make the right decisions when they first got into it. And I'm no saint. I spent a lot of money my first year actually out on the road, and started making those $3,000 a week, $3,200, $3,300 a week paychecks. It's you just get to a point where you realize it's not all about that, and you have to look at where you want to be and look at the decisions you're making now and ask yourself, are these decisions gonna get me there? You know? Yeah,
I think I always compare it to, you know, when you become a father, you look at your children and things sort of make sense. Even your relationship with God makes a whole lot more sense to you. But the toys you wanted when you were 8 weren't the same as what you wanted when you were 12, weren't the same when you turned 18. And I think when you get out on your own, if you can think that way, you know, what do I really want life to look like when I'm 30? And if I can go ahead and start making some sacrifices, you know, if I can forego the razor and the hopped up wheels, the underglow, the extra tune on my Duramax, if I can think that, you know, those things probably won't be that important to me when I have a wife and kids, and start putting that money aside, you can really set yourself up. And this industry, like you're talking about, all the trades are awesome, Ethan, but you said a lot here today in that welding is the only trade. I mean, hats off to carpenters, electricians, HVAC technicians, whatever. But welding does not. Or welding is the only one that'll hand Ethan Holloway a 6-figure annual at 18, 19 years old. And like you're talking about, if you're disciplined early, all your other peers are at some 4-year college, and you're pulling down 6 figures for those 4 years. I mean, you just put a financial gap that they may never overcome if you're investing and working your money correctly, investing in assets, things that will earn you money instead of bleed you money. Yeah, that's awesome. All right, Ethan. Well, we've talked a while, man. I think we've been on here an hour 15 or so. Well, wrapping up.
26.
I appreciate catching up with you. It's been great. I think
of course.
You've definitely dropped a lot of great knowledge. If you could summarize some stuff, or maybe speak to yourself. You talked about this. You wish you could. No regrets. Don't hear me wrong. But you might have done things differently at KWI. So speaking into some young gun, 17, 18 years old, getting ready to start or embark a welding career, what would you leave them with?
Be the man that you aspire to be. Whatever your male role model is, try to live like him. And just take a step back before you make every decision and think, you want a daughter or a wife? Would they look up to me if I'm making this decision? I made
there you go
plenty of poor decisions, but, you know, we all make mistakes. But be the man that you want others. Be the man you want to be. You know, that's really, in layman's terms, that's the simplest way to put it. Be the man that you
That's
aspire
awesome.
to. Yeah.
And as a father of a daughter, I use that one often myself. You know, yes, as you're growing up, are you treating people how you'd want people to treat your daughter? I mean, this, you know, across the board. And are you the type of person that your future kids would be proud of? And that's deep. You're dropping a lot of deep thoughts on us today, Ethan, man. But those are good things, and that's what being an intentional man is all about, really. Yeah. All right, man. Well, appreciate your time. I hope you're from Texas down there today, but I hope you're getting back. The holidays are creeping up on us, and you've talked about getting back together with the parents. So Thanksgiving, Christmas, what's that look like for you, plan wise?
Next Thursday, I'm gonna go in, work my night shift. We're working 10 hours right now. I'm gonna work the 10 hours Thursday, early Friday morning. Should be about 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm turning the truck north, and I'm driving about a day and a half if I can stay up that long. Day and a half, 2-day drive back to North Carolina, and then just hang out, enjoy Thanksgiving. And my dad has a lot of projects around the house that he's been wanting help with, and my brother's not very hands on, so I want to go home and be able to help my parents out with the stuff that they need help with. And,
Well, that's cool, man. So you're a solid week then, you're saying, right?
I think it's six total working days. About a week and a half. I'll go home like next Thursday, stay the whole week at Thanksgiving, and then I'll come back like on a Wednesday, so like almost 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And
that's
per
good
diem's
stuff,
paid
man.
the whole time too. So that's awesome.
Yeah, the benefits. Look at that. So you're getting paid to work with your dad this time, yeah.
Well, it's not about the money. I think being this far away from my dad and missing the projects I did growing up, I would pay my dad to let me help him do something.
There you go. Well, you're a heck of a son, my man. I appreciate talking to you today. I don't want to take up any more of your time. I know you're a busy guy, and working those nights has got to be taxing for sure. But thanks for joining us today, Ethan. Appreciate everything you said.
Absolutely.
And I know there's going to be guys listening to this that are going to pull all kinds of great wisdom and knowledge, and hopefully it'll help them out down the road. But thanks for being with us today.
Anytime you want to hear from me again, just reach out whenever.
All right, good deal. We'll do this again. And hey, the contest in April is always, it's turned into being like an annual reunion for a lot of grads. So maybe we'll send you an invite. And if you can make it, swing on in, check us out. We're actually building a new shop. It's a 30,000 square foot facility. You can check out that gym if you're interested in fitness too. And but we'd love to see you in person, shake hands, and show you around, man.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Thank you, Bobby.
All right, take care. God bless. Ethan Holloway is proof that discipline still matters. Faith at the center, family at your back, and work in your hands. That's a powerful combination. From Henderson, North Carolina to UA Local 614, he's building a life, not just a paycheck. For every young man listening who wonders if he's got what it takes, look at Ethan. He started where you are. He chose the hard road, and it's paying off. Until next time, stay sharp, stay grounded, and keep building a life that's worth welding for.